Hey guys, Joe here. Well, yeah, adjust myself here. Ground's kind of uneven here. So, I think it's high time that I pretty much share a little bit about myself here, of which, what got me started in this. Bushcraft, woodcraft, wild camping, wild crafting, primitive survival, whatever you want to call it. Uh, I guess the genre, I could probably say the closest I fall into would be bushcrafting, since, well, to me, bushcrafting isn't about having the most glamorous knife, gear, etc. It's basically making do with what you have. I mean, not all of us have silver spoons in our mouths and able to buy whatever we wish. In fact, when I first started on this, uh, I was a pauper. I mean, I was struggling just to make ends meet, and I had to pretty much make a lot of my gear. Uh, some of my more expensive stuff is I scrimped and saved and sacrificed to get. But, anyways, what I'd like to discuss is how did I get into this? Well, I've always been drawn to the outdoors, to the wild places, to nature. I guess you could say the spark, truly, that it was like that one little spark when I was a wee little boy. Oh, maybe 7, 8 years old at the time, I guess. And I remember in the library reading a book, a little kid's book. For the life of me, I can't remember, the premises, but I do remember it was basically it was like uh, a badger brother and sister, I guess you could say, and each had their own little thing, civil and competitiveness, I guess you could say. But what got me was how the boy badger just dug his own little burrow, I guess you could say, and wanted to have a party, but his friends couldn't come over, so he was sad, and basically tried to make do the best he can. He made bacon, A+ on that. But anyways, the story progressed, and he just got more and more sad, and tried to you know take his mind off it. So he tried to expand his burrow, and he started digging. Next, he comes through, pops through to where, lo and behold, his sister made her own burrow, and she was supposed to have a little tea party with her friends, but her friends didn't come out. But anyways, it was a basically family, feel good type of thing. But that started getting me into like thinking, oh, I want to make a fort. I want to make a clubhouse. You know, but remember my friends and I would go to the place where people dump stuff and get those old cardboard boxes behind the shopping centers to make forts out of that. And that was kind of cool back then. But as with most skills, practitioner, bushcrafter, whatnot, um, is a lot of us do reading. And I brought a couple of books that basically heavily influenced me into what I do. And first off is I lean more towards primitive survival, I guess you could say, but I research on how did different ancestors, I guess you could so speak, nationalities, cultures, where they how they survived on the land in a primitive situation. I mean, it's amazing. Some can be used, broadly, and then some are just basically just for that one area. For it will work there, but it won't work somewhere else. Anyways, uh, this is the book. I wish I had the original. It'd be more obvious, but this is the book I got. That propelled me into this was My Side of the Mountain. Come on. I'm sure a lot of you here got, read that and just jumped right into it. But it was kind of funny, is that, when I was in the 7th grade, I don't know if they do that anymore, but mandatory reading class. Yeah, I didn't mind it too much since I was an avid reader anyways. But there was a little short story in there that we had to read, and it just grabbed me. It absolutely, completely grabbed me. The title of the story was Sam Gets Started, which was not the title in the book, but I thought that was exactly what the title was. So, went to the library and tried to look up Sam Gets Started. We didn't have computers back then. We had the infamous cards. Oh, yeah, it's still traumatized by that, but couldn't find it. I was just like, oh man. Went to the public library. Couldn't find it. It's like, Jesus. So, in reading class, being force-fed reading, this time something really boring and stupid. It was so bad that I don't remember anymore. But, anyways, I wrote down the author's name. Well, maybe I could find the author and find that. So, looked up the author, found which part of the library she wasn't in, and couldn't find the book, but, oh, this is interesting, My Side of the Mountain. That looks interesting. Read the first chapter. Oh, this is nice. Oh, this is awesome. I get to the second chapter where Sam goes off into the Catskills, and I'm like, this is it! This is it! Yeah, I was just like, oh my God. I'm surprised I didn't get kicked out of the library for jumping up and down, screaming in happiness. And I read that book constantly, back to front, front to back. Read it so much, I read it during class, got detention for that, and sitting in detention, I raised my hand, and the teacher's like, yes, Joe. I said, am I allowed to read? She's like, go right ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Okay. They caught on to that and couldn't read after that in detention. But, the second book, some of you may groan and roll your eyes, but you have to understand that this is the time that this was introduced to me. This is what I had to go on was, and I don't see it being talked about much anymore. Is Tom Brown's Field Guide to Wilderness Survival. Take it for what you will. It did help me out a lot. It really got me really into this stuff. I wanted to learn this even more. A few years later, a lot of you probably read this as kids, is Gary Polson's Hatchet. Combined with My Side of the Mountain and Hatchet, I was completely, utterly changed and hooked. That became my obsession with flint and steel. And that's when I really, really, truly, really wanted, what I wanted to do was, when I grow up, was live out in the wilderness. This type of thing. But, no sooner after that did I find, this is pretty much the absolute Bible. This is the one that is the grandfather. This is the one that has gotten every primitive skills, wilderness, survival lists hooked. This is the one. It was outdoor survival skills. by the late Larry Dean Olson. Unfortunately, Larry passed away earlier this year. Yeah, but he was a complete fountain of knowledge. But anyways, those 4 books pretty much, solidified my path. Completely set me on my path to wanting to learn these skills. And when I graduated high school, I tried going to college for a bit. I was dealing with issues of a broken heart, anger, betrayal from that. Won't get into that too much. But I figured, well, if I'm going to, learn these skills, I need the money to take classes on doing this. So, tried college for a bit, and I just was not getting it. It was just, I was struggling. And so I talked to the guidance counselor, and they're like, well, I said, well, we have this place you could go to. It's like a work program. It's called the Montgomery County Conservation Corps. So I joined that, and it was nice. I mean, I learned a lot. It was a good job. More importantly, in dating myself here, in 1988, Yellowstone burned. It burned pretty bad. Common joke was we tried, but the park still fried. And you want to put what out? But anyways, part of the conservation course, we had the opportunity a year later after that was to go out to Yellowstone for a month and help rebuild the trails and bridges. And I had the opportunity to go, and that was awesome. I mean, it's the first time an East Coast boy, in the middle of August, we're going out to one of the back countries, backcountry areas, the campsites to rebuild the trail and everything, and one of the bridges, and it snowed. It snowed. I mean, for somebody who grew up in the East Coast, August is hot, humid. How the hell is it snowing in August? That was my first introduction of climatology and terrain. But after I did my year tenure with the Conservation Corps, I tried college again. And, I mean, yeah, I was doing it, but it's just my heart was just not in it. It's just I wasn't stupid, or something. It was just, it's hard to study in college, do well, if you're just not mentally there, or if your heart's not in it. And that was probably a big mistake on my part. I should not have done that because it just brought nothing more than frustration. I should have just traveled a bit, maybe saw, gone out camping a bit more, done these skills. Anyways, the semester was coming to an end, and I decided to, take the standard class at the tracker school. And, some of you, may not like it or wonder why the hell did I do it? Why didn't I go to another school? Like, hey, how about Boss? I wanted to. I wanted to go to Boss, however, that I had to look at travel expenses. And at the time, the tracker school was cheaper than Boss. So I think, looking in hindsight, probably would have gotten a little bit more out of Boss, I think. But I took a couple of classes. All of them actually were survival classes. Learned quite a bit. Never felt quite fully accepted there, I guess, mostly because at the time I was working full time for large, basically the Beltway Bandit, one of those big corporations, and I was looked down upon for that because I was working for the man. Some of us didn't have, come from affluent families. But, anyways, nice little soft rant. But, like, I mean, I hear people complaining about, it's like, oh, I don't have time, I don't have time. I was working full time. I was driving a hellacious commute that took an hour and a half to get home. But yet, it's like, after work, even if it's just 15 minutes to maybe an hour at most, if you practice your skills, even a little bit, just a little, take a little, like a piece of glass and try to make an arrowhead out of that. That will help refine your skills. I encourage, that's what I used to teach, is just don't worry about trying to get out every weekend and, do that. Don't take marathon classes. Don't take a class after class after class after class. I mean, I've pissed off some tracker students who did marathon classes who claimed were so enlightened, and but were like angry over the fact is I didn't take as many classes, and yet I had these skills like mastered. They'd be struggling with their bow drill, making the death squeal, like, ee, 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 ee. And I'm out there, I'm right nearby, and just go fire. uh, but one of the things I did after that, while I was still taking some of the tracker classes, was that I discovered Ron Hood's survival tapes, survival.com. Little promo there. Back then, and even now, to this day, primo, top-notch survival videos. And his wife, Karen Hood, had wonderful, what she calls cave cooking videos. I mean, it's just, combine that with what I learned at the tracker school. It's like, I learned to adapt. I mean, that's one thing I learned, is I didn't get so focused on, the end-all, be-all of just, to be one with the earth. I guess you could say, you must get fire with a hand drill. Pardon my French, but a little coarse language here, bullshit. You get, it's like the ancient ones, the ancestors, no matter what continent, you gave them a pack of matches, they'll sell their daughters to you. I mean, hell, in the book Ishi, Last of the Tribe, the reporters asked him, what wondrous, invention of society does he like the most? Was it planes, automobiles, and he said, matches. And they couldn't quite understand that, but think about it. He's alone, by himself, having to get fire going in every situation. Most of the time, probably with the hand drill. Very difficult in adverse conditions. You have a pack of matches, you just huddle over, and you can get a fire going without wasting excessive energy as with the hand drill. I mean, that's what I learned. So, joined the Hoodlum Forum of Hood's Woods, and again, I had an opportunity to go on probably the last survival trek with Ron Hood and his wife. And in fact, it's on volume 10. I'll probably put a link on it in the description. But we were out there for 14 days, and that was, oh man, that was like a vacation for me. It's like Ron was like completely floored at my skills. I mean, he was, I got major respect from him. I was told, I mean, to this day, I'm told by people close to him saying, I impressed the hell out of him. One thing he told me, like, during the trek was he came up to me and said, Joe, I'm really impressed with you. And I'm like, really? And I'm going, yeah. He says, most people here struggle, like, getting into the flow. As soon as you came here, boom, you're right there into the flow. How'd you do that? He says, well, he says, certain classes I've taken over the years, I won't mention. He just smirked and walked away. If you do get volume 10, there's two things need to know about. One is the rotten elk scene, and I must clarify, it wasn't rotten, it was putrid. So do not drink or eat anything during this video, especially during the donut scene. Some of you may have seen it, and yeah, it's comical. You have to have a sense of humor. You have to have, you know, a really warped sense of humor to appreciate that. Anyways, a few years, during that time, actually, pretty much during that time is I actually helped form the Mid Atlantic Primitive Skills Group. There was just four of us at the time. Myself was, Kev, who was pretty much the grand poobah of it, Cheryl, Carl, and myself. And well, maps has pretty much gone to the wayside for the American, East Coast Bushcraft Society. The maps meet is run by Ancestral Knowledge. They are doing a good job keeping it, how it used to be. Oh, what else about me? Well, I'm pretty sure it's like, have I encountered dangerous situations over the year? Well, for having done this for nearly, shit, pardon my French, going on for nearly 30 years now. Yeah, actually, yeah. That's when I really started doing it until I took the classes. Well, let's see here. I've encountered poachers and pot growers. And, let's see, three, wilderness, I guess you could say, dangers. Well, four, if you want to count the bear. But, truth be told, is I would rather deal with the dangers of nature than people. People, I do not trust. If I'm out here, I see somebody, I move away. I try to get away from them. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what their intent. I watch them before I make any decision of interacting. I've been hunted by poachers. Of course, I worked with the park police and the DNR of finding them and taking pictures. And dare I say, as I did mess with a couple. But pot growers are an entity of their own. Poachers are just as nasty. They will try to kill you if they can, if they don't want to beat the hell out of you. Mostly, they could lose their hobby of having their gun, bow, truck, everything that they hunt with confiscated and permanently banned from hunting. Pot growers, uh, if it isn't for the traps, they will kill you. They will try to kill you. And I encountered one. The farmer's son. The farmer and I butted heads. I was on park property. He said I wasn't, and I had the park police tell them, no, this is park land. But I had his son come barreling up in his truck, and he gets out swaggering, and meanwhile he's puffing out of breath, a real big pasty doughboy. And he said, this is private property. And I said, no, it ain't. This is park land. We'd already discussed this with your daddy. He said, you better get the hell out of here. I go, he says, why? You're afraid I'm going to find your pot? And he looked at me, and he says, you better shut your mouth. I got a gun in the glove compartment. And I smirked. And of course, then I gave a very big feral grin. This was like, okay, you just threatened my life, big fat boy. And I basically pulled my capote aside and pulled my knife out, and I said, how fast can you run? He went white. He just froze. I dare say he almost pissed himself. I was just done with this. I was completely done with it. And I said, tell you what, he says, sit down. What? Sit down. And he says, as you turn towards that truck, I will be on you like a wolf on a deer. And he sat down. I said, you count to 100. I'm walking. Don't you dare try to look for me. Well, it needs to say that he did what he was told. And I was shaking afterwards. I was like, that was just way too close. And I knew where his plants were. And normally he's like, personally, I don't care, but there were kids out back there, and he's been threatening him before, and I have trouble with that. I have a problem with that. I also had a problem with him setting up traps. Uh, I'm not going to discuss what kind, though I'm sure it's easy for some of you to find out what. But yeah, that was that. Having hunted by poachers, being chased by them, being harassed by them, being harassed by the pot growers. I mean, I don't want to deal with people after that. So those were the two dangers, big main dangers I faced back then. The other was, see here, I was doing a trek. I had to cut it short. We just got a surprise thunderstorm. It was bad, really, really bad. It just dumped. And the area I was in, it was starting to flood, and I had to get the hell out of there. And I'm heading back, and the damn river's flooded. And I had to go to find this one area where it's like a wire bridge, basically a wire here, a wire there. Well, the lower wire was in the damn water. But I had to get out of there. I had to do it. It's just so, got my parachute cord, did a double wrap type of thing, hooked it over the top one, and secured it to myself, to my belt, and just leaned back and just started going. It was like right up to, almost right up to my knee, and I was sweating. I mean, I was going at a snail's pace because I could feel that river just trying to suck me in. Let's see here. The bear, as I mentioned before. I was out in western Maryland. I was doing a semi-survival trek. I was about 5 miles away from the main campsite where I parked my vehicle. And I set up a nice little shelter in a crook, where a tree fell, the roots. I made a nice little nest in there, little cave. And around early morning, I hear something, and I look and I hear this heavy breathing and a woof. I look out and there's a black bear, 30 feet away. And I go, hey bear, hey bear. And it stopped, sniffs, and starts coming forward again. I'm like, bear, I'm here, Needless to say, that bear came out. As soon as he got it within 20 feet, I picked up my walking stick and my throwing stick, and I jumped out in my underwear, screaming at the top of my lungs, jumping up and down, waving it up, everything around. And that bear just, pulled back and was like, what the hell? It backed away and took off. Throw this in your brain. What I had, the image I got popped in my brain as soon as it's gone. I started laughing because I had the image of Bugs Bunny, Nature Boy, going, Let's see. Oh, man. Oh, there was the, another time I had to cut short. It was miserable. If you're, back east or deep south, is doing a survival trek in August is miserable. It's just plain miserable. It was hot, it was humid, and then I'm decided, what, I'm done. It's like, this is not good. This is not cool. I'm heading back in. Thunderstorm forms right overhead. I'm drenched, and then it's hot. It's humid. The rain wasn't even refreshing. It was just a hot rain. And about 100 yards away, this small tree gets struck by lightning. And I was irritated, and I was just basically not in a good mood. I just looked up, and I just said, you missed me! Yeah. Needless to say, I'm still here, so the second one didn't follow. But there's been a couple, close calls I've had, but I would rather have that than back in society, to tell the truth. I mean, a bad, time survival trick beats a bad day in society anytime. Anytime at all. So, that's pretty much it. I mean, my favorite scents, out here is like, well, the sagebrush, especially after a rain. Oh, cedar. When I was back east in the fall, oh, the smell of the loam of the falling leaves, that is just, oh man, it just makes me just feel real good. Uh, so, with that said, back, revealing a bit type of thing is, when I got into this, as I mentioned before, is I didn't have a lot of money. I couldn't afford the expensive stuff. I mean, hell, my tracker knife, it was 2 years of scripting and saving. During my birthday and Christmas time, ask what do I want? Money. How much? Uh, this much. uh, things I like to do is, even now to this day, is even though I am much better off than I was back then, is I still like to make my stuff. Make my gear. Which is like, this, I made my capote. This is out of drop cloth, painter's drop cloth. And I'm going to be replacing this soon. Have an opportunity, got myself some duck cloth. So I'm going to be, and had an idea of, instead of, just making it, I'm going to show you guys how I make it and the pattern. So, what else? A little bit about me. That's pretty much it. Lots of stuff you can just pick up, bits and pieces in the other videos. But this is pretty much how I got started, and that's pretty much it. So, anyways, enough of my rambling. So, hit like if you like, and of course, I would like to thank of all my new subscribers. Welcome aboard. I'm probably going to be doing something soon to, like a subscriber giveaway. Not sure what yet. Might be one of my hammer strikers. Might be a knife I make, which I do make. I do make blades. They are good. I do need to make a video on that. I do have a lot of plans this year. Providing my job doesn't screw it up, like throw me on grave again. Anyways, so to the new guy, to all you newcomers, welcome aboard. Hit like, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Talk to you later.